to the Golden Mike podcast, where personal growth simply isn't enough. I'm your host, Mark Cordone, a positive psychology coach, a do-gooder from the island of misfit toys who founded the Joy Revolution. Each week I'll wrap with an extraordinary guest doing extraordinary things through their own revolutionary work to talk about the ups, downs, and all-arounds of life. It's my mission to provoke and empower you through increased joy and inspire you to spark your own revolution to change history for the better. Welcome to the most serious happiness podcast in this multiverse. Welcome to the Golden Mike podcast. And at what point would you say that, I mean, I'm looking at the sheet right now, and I'm the word that's flying out of the sheet is Cody got suicidal. You know, and so was that the point that where it was like, okay, I got to shit or get off the pot?
You would think, but no. You would think. So the first time Cody was suicidal, wow, or had attempted suicide, at that time, I think, you know, looking back, it was very obviously a suicide attempt. Mm-hmm. But in that moment, he had said, "Oh, no, it was an accident. I didn't mean to do this. It was an accident." So, okay. And I wanted to believe with every fiber of my being that my child did not want to die. And so I believed it. And I went, okay, well then let's get through this. Let's figure this out. And so that was his moment, I think, of like, okay, I'm willing to accept outside help. And he was very much like, you know, no, not this doctor. Okay, yes, this doctor for 5 sessions. Yep, no, I'm done now. Okay, I'll try that medication. Nope, I'm done with that. But he was willing to try different things, and he was willing to kind of figure it out in different ways. Yeah. His what second were some of the things suicide that you tried out? So we went to counseling. Okay. We went through my family doctor for counseling, and my family doctor would see him every week. We'd go in and she would talk to him, and she was very good with him. And he tried different types of medication. We tried different groups. We tried different, you know, styles of learning and, you know, different programs. And we did anger management, you know, him and I together, so that he didn't feel like he was doing it on his own. And coming into some of this, we, you know, got a diagnosis of like severe depression and social anxiety. And so he wasn't the kid that I could say, I'm putting you in this group program, go there and talk about your feelings. Because he would not, he would throw up for like ever before and then not go. Right. And so It was whatever program him and I could do. And we finally found a fantastic psychiatrist in McMaster. And she was phenomenal with Cody. And Cody would tell her everything in the world and anything in the world and how he thought and how he felt. And she was getting his medication combinations kind of figured out. And she had, you know, had given us these diagnoses of like, this is what's happening with your child, and here's some kind of clarity. And, but at the same time, like, you know, as we know in traditional psychiatry, right? Like you make an appointment, you show up, there's like a waiting list, there's a process. You can't just all of a sudden walk through the door and go, today, my kid is having a bad day. I need to see you. Right. And so, you know, we would wait 2 weeks for an appointment, and the morning of the appointment, and we always did them first thing in the morning so that there was less chance of him changing his mind. And, you know, he was on medication. So I would go in while he was still sleeping, and I would wake him up and give him his pill and give him a glass of water. And then I'd put him back to sleep and come back out of his room. And an hour later, wake him up. And by then the medication had a chance to kick in. Wow. And so, you know, I would wake him up and say, okay, we got to get ready to go to this appointment. And he did not want to go. And I would fight with him for an hour. And then I'd have to call and go, listen, like we're 15 minutes from the appointment. Even if I left now, which there's no chance of that happening because he is like locked himself in a room and he's kicking and screaming and not coming out, we won't make it. And so, you know, you can only do this so many times before they say, we have a waiting list of children dying to get in here. Yeah. I can't keep having missed appointments. Unfortunately, I have to let your family go. Mm. And so, I mean, as far as supports, I think that was a time in Cody's life where he had the most amount of support. He was, my family doctor was supporting him. The psychiatrist was supporting him. He went to a phenomenal school in Hamilton where the vice principal was like all over everything he could do to make Cody come to school and be in school and it be like the easiest process for him. And so, Cody just went, I don't want any of this. I'm not going here. I'm not doing this. I don't want this. I don't want that. And then there was an incident here we had at home and he went bananas and destroyed my home. Mm-hmm. And on his way out of the house, he said, I'm done with you. I'm done with this life. You'll never see me again. I'm going to kill myself. And out the door he went. And it took me a moment to go like, what the hell just happened? And then I couldn't find him. And I drove the streets and I called all of his friends and I showed up at his friends' houses. And I was like, if you guys have him, just tell me he's okay and I'll leave you alone. But like, I need to know my son is okay. Nobody would talk to me. Nobody wanted to tell me anything. Nobody, would say yes or no, he's here or not. And so I phoned the police.
Did people know where he was?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And so I phoned the police and I said, listen, I don't need him charged. I don't care about the damage to my house. I don't care about any of that. I want my son to get help. And I'm dying for somebody to look at my child and say, this kid is beyond this every 2-week appointment shit. Like he needs something more than that. And so they called around and, a couple of Cody's friends, and they finally got a hold of Cody, and Cody went and met with one of the officers. And the officer that he was talking to said, did you tell your mom you're going to commit suicide? And Cody said, yes. And they said, do you feel this way? And Cody said, yes. And she said to him, then can we take you and just have a doctor talk to you at the hospital and just see if maybe there's a reason you feel this way? Okay. And Cody was like, sure, let's go. Why not? Right.
So it wasn't even like a Baker Act.
No.
Like I don't know what's called in Canada. But when someone does that in the United States, you Baker Act them.
So it's called a Form 1 here. And so, yes, that is how it turned out, because he agreed to go.
Okay.
Right? Like he agreed to go. Once he got there, like every other emergency room visit, it's a 17-year wait to get to a doctor.
Sure.
And so he got there and he was okay with being there. And then, an hour went by and then 2 hours went by and he started getting agitated and he started getting, anxious and I want to go home. I want to leave. And then they had to form him and they went, yeah, you're not leaving. You're here now. And so they formed him for 72 hours. And so they've got 72 hours to assess you and see, are you a danger to yourself or a danger to other people? Mm-hmm. And in that 72 hours, my son...
Now, were you relieved at this point?
Yeah.
Or was it just shell shock?
There was a ton of relief because I was like, finally, someone's going to get it, right?
Okay.
And he's in the best place. Like, where else should you be? Absolutely. If you have mental health issues, you should be in a hospital with people who can help you with that. And
Absolutely.
So that was my yes. 100%. If I got to do it in this, awful way of now I've got broken stuff and, whatever, totally cool if it gets my son the help he needed. I'm all for it.
And
it did not work. So he was in for 72 hours. He was highly medicated. And for the first 24 hours, he was literally in a padded room, right? Yeah. He was in complete and utter lockdown. They needed a team of people to go in and hold him down to get him to take his medication. And, he was angry that he could not go home. So if he was not drugged and he was not sleeping, he was violently angry. And then the second day he started to realize this isn't getting me anywhere. And so then he was just medicated, right? And there were moments of anger of let me out of here. How many ways do I got to tell you guys? And if you have ever had any dealings with the mental hospital at all, the psychiatrist comes once a day at like 7 or 8 in the morning. They spend 2 or 3 minutes with you and decide, is today the day you go home or not? It's really the nurse's assessment of, here's what you do during the day, here's how you do. So your communication with your child's nurse or your own nurse is really the thing that they actually go off of. Mm-hmm. So if you just sit in your room and hold your tongue waiting for the doctor, like they have nothing to really go on.
Yeah, they think that the doctor is really the gatekeeper,
right? And it's not. It's your nurse.
There's been a lot of observation going on.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
And so by day, 2, end of day, my son realized that this doctor is only coming for 2 minutes a day. And so on the third day, which was a Sunday, the doctor come in and had said to Cody, how you doing today? Are you feeling better? Are you ready to talk? And Cody said yes. And he said, where do you see yourself 3 months from now? And this was in May. This was just after Cody's 16th birthday. Mm. And Cody said, I see myself sitting on a beach hanging out with my friends. And the psychiatrist left the room and said, he's ready to go home. Mm-hmm. And so the nurse or the ward nurse or whatever it is called me and said, you can come and get him today. The psychiatrist is releasing him. He's not a danger to himself. He's not a danger to his society. Like, he can go home. How can you say that? Like, what is wrong with you? And so I tried to talk normal to them. And I was like, because again, that's not, I shouldn't say that, but that's what I said at that time, like legitimately.
I appreciate your candor.
Yeah. So like, I was like, what are you talking about? You guys have had him drugged for 72 hours. I can't do that here. You guys have him in a locked ward. Like, he literally can't pee without you unlocking a door for him. Like, right. I don't have that here. You guys have a team of people. I don't have a team of people. And I have a job. Like, I'm out of the house for 10 hours a day. Like, what are you talking about? He cannot come home. No, this is not real. This cannot be happening. But like much in like a judgment, right? Like when the gavel is down and the ruling is in, your son is released. Like, come and get him. Like, too bad for you. Your son's going home.
Wow.
And so I went and I picked him up and, I said, how do you feel? And he said, tired. And the one thing that we did get out of that is that he did not want to be on medication. It turned him into a zombie. And he's like, I don't want to do that. It's not working for me. And it's not that it turned him into a zombie from all of his feelings. It turned him into a zombie from everything but anger. Anger was the only thing that he could feel. So anger was the thing in which he began to harness, because he was like, this is the emotion I can feel, which means now you guys know I'm upset or I'm, hurt or I'm something, but it's all got to be channeled through anger because it's the only thing I can get to. And so he wanted to come off the medication. And so I said, I will agree with that as long as you just stop the nonsense and we get help. Whatever that looks like, whatever you need, this is where we're going. And he had agreed. And so that was on the Sunday. And Monday, that was around 1:00, I brought him home. Monday, I went to work. Cody was sleeping when I left. And, like traditional teenage boys, right? Like they'll sleep till 4:00. I get home at 6:00. So he's got 2 hours of like life on his own. And so I was like, this will be fine. And we've agreed, like we had this conversation. We agreed he wants help. He doesn't want to live like this. He wants to get better. Mm-hmm. And so, I left for work and I get a phone call at work from a guy I was dating at the time and said, don't panic, but.
Oh my gosh. That's the hardest thing to.
Your son just tried to kill himself.
Oh my gosh.
And so instantly.
Wait, this was within the same 2 weeks that he was released.
12 hours after he was released, like 16 hours, whatever it was. Like my lunch hour was at 1:00. So by 1:00, my son was at my work. So it wasn't even 24 hours later. He had attempted suicide. This was now attempt number 3. Mm-hmm. And so he had cut himself. And so as soon as he did it, he was instantly went into this guilt and shame over me. Like, what was it going to be like for me to find my son? What was it going to be like for me to bury my child? And so thank God for guilt, I think, because it was the thing that made him pick up the phone and call my boyfriend and say, I fucked up royally. Like, you got to save me. You got to help me. And so my boyfriend flew to my house and picked up my son, and he had called me and said, what do you want me to do with him? And I was deflated.
Was he bleeding out at this point?
So he had cut himself in his leg and he was bleeding a lot. And so they had bandaged it up and kind of like tourniquet tied his leg and, got the bleeding under control. And he said to me, what do you want me to do with him? And I was completely deflated. And I was like, if I take my child back to the hospital, it's not going to be an attempt. I'm going to bury my son, because if I do this to him again and he realizes that I'm just going to send you back to the hospital, the next time he's not going to make that phone call and I won't have my child.
It's a revolving door.
And so I said, bring him to me. I want to see that my son is okay. I need to physically see him in front of my eyes. And so my boyfriend at the time did. He brought him to my work and I sat with Cody and he was, pale as a ghost. And I said, Boo, what the fuck? Like, dude, what? Like, we just had this conversation. Like, what happened? He goes, I don't know. Like, I woke up and I was sad and I didn't know what to do and I didn't know how to deal with it. And he was a cutter. Yeah. And so that was his go-to, right? Is like, I'm just going to cut. I'm going to just end it all. I'm going to just do this thing. And so I left work and I booked a doctor's appointment and I went on stress leave and I said, I can't do this. I have to. This was my holy shit. It is my son or not. I'm either going to bury him or I'm going to get it together. But something's got to change here. And so I took a leave of absence and I stayed at home with my son and I tried everything. Like, my son and I were together for 24 hours a day, 7 days a week for months. Mm-hmm. And, I had already met Tamara and I was already doing, her program, which was work on me and what I wanted at the time. And so I just kind of
Tamara Arnold,
yes. Yeah. And, my saving grace, because that was my moment of I'm not in this alone. There is another human life out there who knows exactly what I'm thinking, feeling, and going through. And so that was enough for me to be able to catch my breath. Right. And so I spent all of my time with Cody and I went back to the roots of Tamara's program of who am I and what do I want in this world, and harnessing my energy and figuring out me, so to speak, and how that was probably my first real introduction to me as an energetic being completely can affect another human being.
Absolutely.
And so if I get my shit together and I figure out my energy and I'm able to calm and control what's happening in this meat suit, as you call it, maybe I can, help my son, show my son the way of here are the things that help in life and, the way we're doing it right now. And not just to him, but him and I, the way we are doing this isn't working. For you, it's not working. For me, it's not working.
Now, what were some of the things that you that were illuminated when you started working with Tamara? I mean, my guess would. This is my guess again. Yeah. Would be that the fixer energy doesn't work, and also at the same time, when you go into fixer energy, you give away your power.
So here's the yes and no, right? So here's the thing: as a fixer, here's the one huge mistake we make as a fixer. We try to fix outside of us, and you will fail every single time. The moment I harnessed that fixer energy and I decided to fix me, because I'm the only person that I can control in this world. I'm the only person that I can think for and be for and control action-wise. I can't control and be and do anybody else, right? So the moment I turned that fixer from the outside world and turned it in, my whole world changed. Cody's whole world changed.
Now, with this idea of fixing, was it when you turned 13 that the first wound was inflicted on you? Or was it something that was way, 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 way deeper that was residing in your subconscious for, a lot of your formative years?
Maybe a little bit of both. Like the first incident that I can remember of trauma, so to speak, is when I was 13 and my cousin died. And like I said, we were all a very close family. So cousins were like brothers, and it was this weird mix up of family because we were so tight that and I remember it like it was yesterday. It was April 1st when I heard, it was middle of the night. So March 31st, April 1st. And so I remember hearing people walking and talking upstairs, and I could hear that, I don't know if I heard somebody say somebody died or something happened, but I thought it was my grandmother. And so I did the traditional 6-year-old child thing. And I was like, okay, well, I got to go pee. Okay, but wait a minute. But now I need to go and get a drink. Okay, well, but now I need to go and tell my parents the thing. And I was trying all of the things to get my parents to tell me that my grandma died. Yeah. And so I remember my mom coming down into my room and saying, okay, you kind of forced my hand here. I wasn't going to do this now. Your cousin died. And I was like, okay, that was not what I was expecting. What? And my cousin at the time was 19. And so it was devastating for me, because not that I was okay with my grandmother dying, don't get me wrong, but she was older. And so it was I was not expecting to hear that my cousin was dead, and it was an accidental death. He had, fallen off of a set of bleachers and onto his head. And it was just it was this whole big catastrophic thing. And it was awful. And we were so close. He was just at my kitchen table, days before. Right. And so it was so traumatic for me. And I remember, even back in those days, I kept a diary, and we had a rule in my house that your diary is yours. So even if I left it on the kitchen table open, my parents would close it and put it away. Right. They wouldn't read it and go, oh my God, Corrie, he's thinking these things or doing these things. Right. We had total privacy in my home. And so I remember having a dream one night. My cousin's name is Jeremy. And I remember having a dream, and Jeremy came to me in my dream, and he was the traditional goth type, Doc Marten boots and black skinny jeans with the metal tops and the punk rock hair and, the whole bit. He was it, right? He was the poster child for this.
That's what I'm talking about right there.
And so in my dream, that's exactly how he looked. And I remember in my dream, I was in an attic, and he came into this attic, he came up the attic stairs, and we were sitting in the attic, and he said, Corrie, don't cry. Why are you crying? Why are you sad? And I said, because I miss you. And he said, but look at me, miss me, but don't be sad for me, because look at me, I'm happy. And I remember looking in his face and seeing this glow. And I remember thinking this is not a sad human at all. He's not lying. He is happy. He's doing good. Right. And so I had wrote this in my diary. Jeremy came to me, and I feel so much better. I love him and I miss him, but he's good. This is good.
It's not bullshit, because you never see a goth person with a nice happy glow around them. Right?
Right? I just remember writing about this in my diary. And so my grandma came over and read my diary.
Grandma.
Right.
That's rule number 1, Grandma.
Complete violation, right? And so she read my diary, and she took my diary and, grandma-ized it, I guess, or whatever, gossip-ized it, and turned it into this. Corrie has these weird tendencies, and she's fantasizing about her own family. And so what kind of human being does that? There's something wrong with her.
Wow.
And so from that moment on, I never could put pen to paper and put my feelings on paper, because I always felt like somebody was going to read it and hold it against me. And so that's my first memory of trauma, talk trauma. I was this is it. right? Like completely violating my privacy and my trust. And then you take something that I write on paper and you turn it into something that is like, that's not even close to what I said.
Sure. I'm really glad that you bring up that idea of trauma, because I'm very vocal about coaches not working with the traumatized, but you are talking about induced stress. You are talking about a disruption of trust. You are talking about sort of things that are out of control that would change your ability to function, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so, you're more along the lines of more energetic now, if I could use that term. More woo, maybe.
I'm not like you, Mark. I'm not in the closet about my woo and my spirituality. Like,
go fuck your shit. Fuck your shit. Fuck your shit.
I totally own it. Like, I am woo 100%. Every fiber of my being is woo.
Good. Then the title of this podcast will be called "One Flew Over the Woo Woo's Nest."
Yes.
But I want to ask about that memory in retrospect now. Mm-hmm. In retrospect, or even at the time, did you feel like that was an absolute visitation by your cousin?
So I totally did, because I remember telling people Jeremy visited me. I saw Jeremy. Jeremy came to me. Like, and I didn't have this distinction of like living or dead. Like, it was Jeremy. Jeremy as an energetic being came to me as an energetic being. Like, I don't, even at that age, even though I knew there was like, you were living and you were not, I didn't have this feeling of like, he was, and then as a dead person, he came to me and spoke to me from the dead. Like, I didn't feel like that, right? Like, it was just like, Jeremy was here. Jeremy came to me. And, but I do remember that because of how that whole situation played out, I never again, until I was like in my mid-30s, opened up to that possibility anymore.
So you turned it off for yourself. It wasn't as if it was like, oh, I'm just going to not share the diary. I'm just going to be smarter and not put it in the diary when grandma's around. But this literally was something in which you kind of shut off that connection or those sort of things.
Yeah. Yeah. I completely closed off to it.
Now, did you have any kind of experiences, whether it be out of body, whether it be helpers, whether it be anyone during that shut off period where you were going through, this relationship, your kids, your baby daddy, like any times where you had felt as if there was something that had your back or anything like that?
My faith, that like, we talk about religion and spirituality and like similarities and, that kind of thing. And I'm, I am very religious and I'm very spiritual. And so for me, during all of these moments, like God was my savior. Like truly God was what I turned to in all of these moments. And I remember, in my abusive relationship and in, this breakup between their dad and I and all of my son's stuff, I remember saying like, God, I know with every fiber of my being that you have a plan for me. And this is not it. It cannot be this. Guide me to where I'm supposed to be. Show me what I'm supposed to see. Give me what you are supposed to be giving me, because this can't be it. And I remember having that feeling from such a young age of like, there's more out there. I just don't know how to access it. I don't know how to get it. I don't know how to that kind of stuff. And I remember even right before, my turnaround with Cody and, people can say whatever they want to say and, whatever. But I remember having a conversation with God. And I remember saying to God, like, we are all your children. There is no, like, Cody's not mine. Cody is yours. I am yours. Like, we are all of one. And so I can't do Cody. I can't save him. I can't watch him. I can't help him. I can't fix him. I can't do anything. And that's the most helpless feeling as a parent, to be able to say, like, I can't do anything for my child, but like I couldn't. And I remember saying to God, like, I have to give him back to you. And whatever your plans are with him, those are your plans. And if that means that he's coming home to the mothership, like, then I guess I got to deal with that. Like,
yeah.
I don't like it. I don't want it. Please don't do it. But if that's your plan, I gotta come to terms with that. And if it's not your plan, then you need to intervene here. And you can see him when I can't, and you can help him where I can't, and you can show him what I can't even see he needs. So you're going to have to step up to the plate here, and you're going to have to help me out.
Step up to the plate, God.
Like, I can't do this anymore on my own because what I'm doing isn't working.
Right.
And that was the turning point for Cody.
So it sounded like another surrender moment for you.
Yeah.
Hey, it's Mark. I hope you're digging the Golden Mike podcast. If you have or are just starting your own revolution fueled by joy, there's a site I created for you. If you, like me, believe that personal growth is simply not enough, if you, like me, are committed to changing history for the better in both micro and macro ways, check out joyrevolution.com. In there, you'll find an archive of our over 200 Golden Mike Live Facebook shows, and of course, our podcast that you're currently listening to. Check out the blogs highlighting how positive psychology and joy theory apply to your everyday life. There's even some cool clips from our Joy Revolution course geared towards influencers, speakers, writers, and change agents. It's all there. Go to joyrevolution.com. That's joyrevolution.com. Let's get back to the episode. Right there.
Completely.
After all these years, right?
Mm-hmm.
It sounds like maybe earlier on in your life, it was, like everyone at the house for Sunday and Christmas and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
It sounded more like religiosity was always a big thing, and spirituality was kind of always looming around, right? Am I getting that right?
Yeah. So my mom was raised as Roman Catholic, but my mom raised us as pick your religion, right? I'm not going to force it on you. So just be smart about it and figure out do you believe in God or don't you? One of my brothers doesn't believe in God.
Yeah.
We were raised in the same house, and we have, we are all one person when we all come in the same room. But he makes an atheist look like he believes in God. My brother is way out in the this doesn't exist. You guys are crazy. You don't know what you're talking about. Stop your nonsense. And I'm very, the opposite of that. And
Sure.
And to me, it doesn't matter whether you believe in God or you don't believe in God, whether you believe in the Big Bang or energy or whatever it is that you believe in. At the end of the day, we're all going to the same place. So if it gets you through this life in this meat suit to think that there is or is not a God, then I'm totally cool with freedom of choice, freedom of belief, believe and be who you want to believe and be, but I'm not going to force you to be and believe what I do.
Meat Suit said twice, you're already getting bumped up in the queue, Corrie. I am curious about this because it really is interesting because, to break the fourth wall, you and I have had some very... I can't believe I'm saying that. We've had some woo as hell conversations, right? Especially in the past 2 weeks about my own life, about your life, right? Dare I say that the Joy Revolution is shrouded in woo?
Yeah.
But
because you're woo, but whatever.
No, it's fucking not. It's because the other person giving the speeches is woo, not me. Come on.
Woo attracts right? So if you're not woo, you won't attract woo, Mark, and you attract all the woo.
I'm the exception. I am the exception. I attract the positive psychologists who pretend to be
every
woo.
other person in this world. I'm the exception to life itself.
So after all these years, after possibly having this sort of kind of Catholic sort of thing going on at the beginning where you have choice and stuff like that, to now where if you haven't had the opportunity to experience Corrie's coaching, I'm talking to the audience, it's brilliant. It's fucking brilliant. And this is a straight up recruiting tactic because I want you in the joy revolution. But also at the same time, like when we talk about God now, when you pray to God, like, for example, when I, as a child, when I prayed to God, I literally thought that I was praying to some deity in humanized form, right?
Yeah,
like that had a consciousness of its own and could communicate back with me.
Yeah.
Right. And then had like could commandeer all these people with humans with wings to come down and help me out with things. That's changed a little bit for me. But for you, what does if you do this, what does getting down on your knees and speaking to God look like now versus when you were a child?
So very much like you, when I was a child, I thought God was like this person, right?
Yeah.
Like we were praying to this person who sat up in the clouds and like looked down on all of the people. And
did your God have a white beard?
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, very much like
totally.
Zeus.
Yeah. And and would send down all of these angels. Like there was this, I remember, my mom used to do this to us, and I used to do this to my kids when they were younger. And I used to do this prayer at nighttime before I put my kids to bed. And I used to say, dear God, protect me from any negative outside influence, and put 4 angels in every corner of my room to watch over me while I sleep and make sure that I am protected. Right. And so I remember thinking like there were like 4 men with wings standing in my corners, like as a visualization. Now visualizing is a really big part of what I do. And so like talk about visualizations for like years and upon years. Like I used to visualize like 16 men standing in my room with wings, making sure like they were protecting my life. Like, right. Like
listen to you, 16 men.
Like there were 4 angels in all the corners and nothing.
And then there was one just to feed you grapes. God. Right? Like 16's a little much.
Right. But I was like, this was the thing that I thought. And so now, obviously, that has changed significantly. I still do believe in like angels. And, obviously, like I did that hypnotherapy thing with you with like Archangel Michael and Archangel Raphael. Like 100% I believe in angels, and they have wings. Like, totally.
Yeah.
But God for me isn't a person that sits up in the clouds. I've been on an airplane and I realized that that's not possible. There's nobody sitting in the clouds.
Don't tell me when you were in a plane as a kid, you didn't look. Because I did. I was like,
I actually was never in a plane as a child. My first experience in an airplane, I think I was like 35 or 36 before I went on an airplane.
And your ass still looked.
I probably did. Like I probably went like, who's up here? Like you're up so high, like there's no guy sitting in the clouds looking down on you with a white beard. Like that's not happening.
Yeah.
Now, however, God is like, goes back to that. And you and I've had this conversation of like Avatar, right? If anybody has ever not seen the movie Avatar and curious about like spirituality and where spirituality meets religion, like Avatar is the movie.
Which I watched again the day after, happened to be on television.
And so like, it's this oneness. It's this like, God is love. It is this wholeness. It is this, like we are all connected. And if you just quiet the nonsense for 5 seconds, it is the voice you hear that, everything is about love. It's not about, this person did me wrong and I need to, get revenge. And it's the voice that says, this person did me wrong. They must be hurting. I need to feel compassion and love for my brother. That is God. That is, it's that oneness. It's that wholeness. It's that, and like you and I've talked about this, it's that scene in Avatar where the guy is being attacked by that like panther looking thing. And, the girl kills it and he's celebrating and she says, why are you celebrating? We are all one. We just killed a piece of us. Like, what is wrong with you? Don't be happy about that.
Yeah.
That is us. That is us as humans. That is us as a consciousness. That is us as like, we are all one. And we can say like black and white and this race and that race. And at the end of the day, do you think we all go to a different place? Like, do you think we're all in the same thing. We're all in it together. And, like coronavirus being what it is right now, right? Like, does it care what color you are? Does it care what area of the country you live in or the world you live in? It doesn't.
Well, I think that's a really interesting point. And by the way, you brought up coronavirus, which bumps you up another week because it's prescient to talk about. You're playing your cards right, Corrigan.
Me too.
But also at the same time, was this some people? I've heard some people talk about that this virus has been brought about to remind us of that.
Oh, for sure it has. For sure.
Okay.
And I think to really bring us back like into ourselves, we are as human beings, we are so focused on all the outside things, right? Like what can I have? What can I do? Who can I visit? You know, and it is the blame game is the same, right? Like in that victim mode, it's like, well, yeah, but it's because my neighbor, it's because my friend, it's because my boyfriend, it's because we've always got this external source for all the things that are happening to us in our lives. With the exception of good things, of course. Like if I graduate university, it's because I'm so freaking smart. But like if my life falls apart and I don't make it to class, it's because my friend made me go out and drink and party and I'm hungover and I can't today, right? Like, and so I truly think that like coronavirus is really an opportunity for us to sit within ourselves and how can I heal as a human being? How can I heal myself as a person in this life? And how can I contribute to the healing of all of us together as one consciousness? Like all of us as one being, we are being reminded, that we are one. Like there is no difference between you in the States and me in Canada and people in China and people in Australia and people in Africa. Like we are all one. We are all feeling it the same. We are all impacted all the same. And so our situations may be different and you may have gorgeous weather over there while I'm sitting, knee deep in snow over here. But
it's gorgeous. It's gorgeous.
Not here. Today it's raining. There's no snow, but it is raining. And so we're in different parts of the world experiencing different things, but the virus doesn't care who you are. It doesn't care where you live. It doesn't care whether you're homeless or whether you are in $1 million home. It doesn't care. It doesn't care. No. Like it will attack you given the opportunity all the same.
So wash your hands.
So wash your hands, people. Jesus.
I just wanted her to say that in mom voice. Wash your fucking hands.
And stay inside for the love of the
Lord. Now she's making these public health announcements. I have to bump this up to next week, you fucker. I want to throw this out here before we go totally off the rails here.
Yeah.
But I think it's all been kind of connected in this nice gelatinous field. Your story, right? And you did talk about consciousness, and it does sound like there's been a nice evolving consciousness that you've been going through as a result of the tests that you've pulled into your life, right?
Totally.
How has your idea of mental health, mental illness, mental well-being, and your idea of consciousness and woo either intersected or been completely divergent as a result of the experiences that you've had multiple times with your son, exes, those sort of things. This is going to be a long, drawn out question, but I've heard several things along the lines of like half the people in mental health institutions are not going through a mental health issue. They can't find it in the brain, but they're busting open some portal that they can't control.
So here's the thing. This is funny that you bring this up in like a not kind of haha kind of way. So I had, in the last couple of years, one of my cousins was in the mental hospital in Hamilton for a number of months. And so he was going through some psychosis type stuff and, hearing voices and, some of these things. And so I had gone in to be a family support and to do a diagnosis type planning for when he comes home, like where are his supports, what do they need to know, that kind of stuff. And so I'm in one room, okay, and picturing this and giving you a full picture of what this looks like I'm as woo can get. Like everything in my life boils down to like, where is this lesson in it for me? And everybody has their journey and everybody signed up for their lessons. And so like, you're not a victim. You always have choices. And so you just change your choices. And some might be harder than others, but like choose what you want in this life and then go for it, right? Stop letting your stories define you and start letting your stories drive you. And there's a huge difference. And so I'm in one room and I meditate every day, twice a day. It's part of my non-negotiables. Like nothing will happen in this world that will stop me from doing this twice a day. And there's my cousin in another room, right? And I don't know what he's saying and he doesn't know what I'm saying. And so the doctor's asking me these questions of like, does he hear voices and does he, see things that other people don't see? And I'm like, is this a quiz? Is this like, am I on candid camera right now? Like, are you fucking with me? Like, am I about to get admitted? Like, what is
I hear voices. I have magical thinking.
I can feel things other people can't feel. I can see things other people can't see. Is this your criteria? Because if I say yes to these questions, am I never going home again? Like what is happening right now? So 100% mental health issues as a whole are so completely one and the same of like woo and spirituality and like, it's this energy. We are all energy. And so it is where in this scale of like this ball of energy and how you're dealing with it and how you're thinking of it. And I mean, think about it. As children, 99% of us and the other 1% of us probably just don't remember. We had imaginary friends and we actually seen these people. They were like real people and they had real conversations with us and they were at our tea parties or they were playing football with us or like whatever. Yeah. They're like, my niece will come out of the room and go like, I can't go in there because there's that guy in there.
Yeah.
Right. Like, so what? A child is crazy. A child needs to be locked up for these. Like they can see things we can't see.
Oh, that's just active imagination before they turn 18. Yeah, then it's crazy talk, right?
For sure. Right. And like, and so I think it very much is this, we've become this society of like, just because I don't want it to be real, it's not real. And therefore, if you tell me it is, you're crazy. And we are a reflection. And I truly believe this. And it's in what I coach and it's in what is coached to me. And it is in, every part of who I am, who you are as an individual inside this meat suit, inside. Yeah. I just want to make sure that I'm giving you time to count the times I say meat suit in between. In this body that we have been given or that we have chosen, when we have a reflection of like, I'm a bad person or, so-and-so is a bad person or this is an awful world, we then will call in all of the things that make what we see externally true. Mm-hmm. And so it's the reason why you get out of bed in the morning and you stub your toe. And you swear at the world and you raise your hands to God and you're like, why do you do this to me? And my alarm didn't go off. So I'm running late and I'm, running around like a crazy person. And then my clothes are in the dryer and they didn't quite dry. So I'm wearing like half wet clothes because I really got to go. I don't have time to figure anything else out right now. And like, and you come to this conclusion of like, this is going to be a shit day. Yep. Enter in the rest of the day and you leave your house and your battery's dead and you get a boost and you're waiting in your driveway for an hour for CAA to come. And then they finally get here and, and then you're late for work, which means you didn't get your review where you were going to get your raise. Instead, you got to be the person who does the coffee run for everybody. And by the way, you're paying for it and your rent just bounced and like whatever, right? Like all of a sudden your day just snowballs because you asked for it. Stop that, right? Like don't do that. If we think about it, like in terms of like, there's my mother voice, like just don't do that. That's wrong. But like, if we think about in terms of like everything that comes out of our mouth And I think it was Harvard actually that recently did this study, right? Everything that comes out of your mouth is amplified by 10 times.
Yes. Words create worlds.
Absolutely. You are speaking into the megaphone of life. And so we would never go through the McDonald's drive-through. I don't recommend you go through the McDonald's drive-through at all. There is no food harmed in the making of McDonald's. But if you did, you would never go through and go, hey, buddy, I'm hungry. Can you just shoot me out some food? Like you're very specific about like what you want and how you want it, right? And yet here we are in life. And if you think about what comes out of your mouth being into that megaphone of like, this is what you're asking for. What you just asked for is a shit day. Why would you do that? And so then, if we think about, go back to you and I and our belief of God as this person sitting up in the clouds, stroking his white beard, he's like, well, that's fucked up shit, but okay, I'll give you a bad day. No problem. Yeah. Right. Yeah. Like what we ask for is what we get. So why are you asking for bad things? And now I'm not saying, don't get me wrong, that like, people who are going through like trauma is saying, hey, like I want to be raped or I want to be beaten or I want to be big T. Yeah, no, absolutely not. I'm not saying it like that, but like we are a reflection outside. Our outside world is a reflection of what we are inside. And so, when we heal the inside and when we realize that what comes out of your mouth is the thing in which you're going to see, you're going to start asking. And on top of that, and I say this, as part of my coaching, right? When I say to people, and it's, around session number 3 or 4, and we start talking about your goals and your life and like, where do you want to go and what do you want to be doing? And I say to people, what do you want? 90% of my clients come back to me with, I just want to be happy. Well, funny, because in Ethiopia, that looks like clean water and a grain of rice. So is that going to help you out? No, it's not. Everybody has a different definition of happiness. Everybody has a different definition of healed, of,
notch one up for positive psychology. Positive psychology 1, woo 0. I think we can conclude on that.
Like, what do you want in your life? Be specific. And you don't have to be, and it's, total plug for a girlfriend of mine, who does human design. And you and I have talked about this and I've connected you with her. Like, there are different types of like, a manifesting generator and like projector. And so people in these different types of human design can manifest in different ways, whether you are a specific or a non-specific. But in any event, happiness doesn't cut it. Like you can't just walk around in the world going, I just want to be happy. I just want to be happy. And then wait for happiness to come to you. Like, what does happiness look like? What does, love look like for you? What does that feel like? And that's, taking positive psychology and mixing it with woo, because we're both woo. And this is what we do is, you just agreed that you're woo, by the way.
Things.
And so like, it's about that positive thinking, the positive talking, and it's about feeling it. Like, and, and I think I've said this to you and I've said this to, the 500 clients that I've worked with, the key, like truly and honestly, the one thing that I can give people is the key to happiness, whatever that looks like for you, the key to unlocking your truest, deepest, darkest desires, the things that you don't want to tell anybody about because you're afraid you're not really going to get it. So you don't want to be disappointed when you don't. The key to getting that is gratitude, like total and utter complete gratitude. Like be in that space of like, I'm so freaking grateful for like just everything. Right? Like today I woke up and someone somewhere didn't. I'm grateful for that. Today I have a home somewhere someone doesn't. I have healthy kids. They may have mental health issues and they may be, stupid teenage boys right now, but I have them. There are people in this world who can't have children. There are people who have grown up their whole lives dreaming of the day that they could be a mom or a dad, and now they can't. And yet I can, right? Like I was able to experience that, and I'm able to, be at a place in my life where I can tell people all of these really awful things that happened to me, but they are all things that I needed to occur in my life to bring me to exactly who I am today. And I love the life I have the good, the bad, and the indifferent.
Mm-hmm.
Because at the end of the day, I created it. Like I have full choice over what I see in my world.
It's true. I hear you banging on shit in the background. And I think the thing is here is like we've been going back and forth, woo, positive psychology. And
they're the same, Mark.
Yeah. The fact of the matter is that when it comes to positive, I'm just kidding. But the fact of the matter is that number one, if you look outside of Western mental health, a lot of the stuff that people call woo has existed for hundreds of years.
Yeah.
It's literally this sort of transfer of Eastern thought over to Western models now.
Yeah.
And also at the same time, if you're looking at sort of this emergence of this, not just looking at the DSM-4 or looking at all the shits and giggles of positive psychology, you find folks like Joe Dispenza, right? Yeah. Who, I mean, I look at him, I'm like, you're a doctor, bro, and you're speaking woo, but you also have a lot of empirical evidence on this stuff right now. And I think that's going to give a lot of credence to things moving forward. My key to happiness, joy revolution.
Yeah.
So
FYI, Joy Revolution.
So here we go.
And here's a plug for you. The Joy Revolution, FYI, for anybody sitting on the fence, just jump in. And anybody who's not on the fence, just jump in anyway. Because it's fantastic. I just love it.
It's good times. Yeah. So this is the part, this is the bonus round that you made it into. You almost didn't make it there for a second. A lot of curse words. A lot of talking to me like you're my mommy, but you made it. You made it into the bonus round. And I told you this time flies, doesn't it?
Oh, totally.
So what I want you to do is I want you to think about not only think, but I want you to feel like you're talking about the, true happiness is this gratitude, the feeling of it, the embodying of it, and then the thought of clearly what it is that you want out of life, right?
Yeah. And
so for you, I'm curious to see how joy shows up in your life. So if you're ready, I've got the timer on. I've got Joe Burns got the yes or no buzzer on, and I want you to finish the question here for me, okay?
All right, let's do it.
So joy sounds like
boy.
Did you just say oi?
No, I said boy, like a man, like a boy. A boy.
Is that your answer?
No.
Okay.
I was being a smart ass. So you're saying what is joy to me, right?
How do you embody
joy is that feeling of getting into bed at the end of the day and going I totally killed it today. My world was chaos. My son had a meltdown, or, I had to lock myself in the bathroom for 5 seconds or 5 minutes or 5 hours till I got it together. But I totally killed it today. I totally rocked as a human being. And I'm going to, whether it is that acceptance of I'm going to do better tomorrow, or that acceptance of you know what, I could have been worse today. I could have lost my marbles. I could have, but it's that complete acceptance of I did everything I needed to do today to make it to the end of the day and get in my bed and have no regrets. Tomorrow I get to wipe the slate clean and I get to get up and do it all over again. And if I made mistakes, I get to fix them tomorrow. And if I didn't, I get to just, keep the momentum going of all of the amazing, awesome things that I'm working on.
Joe Fern, does that count?
Does that count?
Joe Fern is giving a thumbs up right now. Congratulations. So I'm going to see if I can somehow salvage the rest of this bonus round here, because you covered a lot of bases here.
All right.
But let's go into the olfactory version of joy. joy smells like?
So the old factory version of joy is like if you've done something good, right? Like if I was a good person today, if I did something good with my life today, then, I can feel joy. If I can be happy, if I can, like, it almost becomes like this emotion of like, did I laugh today? Yeah, I did.
Yeah,
and I felt joy, right? Like, and it's so not that. It's so not this, if I laughed. I mean, at some point, I hope, I pray that we all laugh at some point in every day. And I'm sure there are people who don't, but, I hope that majority of us do. But I think joy is so much more than that. I think joy is this like as a wholeness. And when we talk about like consciousness being like all of us as one, I think joy as that wholeness of like every emotion that you can experience and yet still coming out of this going, I actually just still love myself. Like I screwed up. I made a mistake. I yelled at my kid for the wrong thing and it wasn't my kid, it was me, or like, whatever. Or I did this thing or I said this thing and I made this person cry. But like, this overall, I still love myself. I still had a good day. I laughed and I cried and all of it is okay because I still love me.
Joe Fern?
Joe Fern, you better give thumbs up over there.
Joe Fern is afraid to get scolded, so he said, it's on me. He's holding up a paper. It's on you, Cordone. I think we pass on that one. I think that one gets a hell yes from me.
Yes.
You totally broke the game, so we're going to go right into the super bonus question.
Sweet.
And the super bonus... Sweet.
I don't even know what it is, but I feel like I'm on a game show where I feel like I've just won this great, awesome prize. And behind door number 3 could be I'm giving you my house. Like that could be real.
Well, you are winning a super bonus prize. Number 1 is you got edified on positive psychology. And then number 2 is you got bumped up on the queue to get the show earlier than later. So I know you and I have been talking about upheavals, leadership, our personal revolutions that we go through, right? Yeah. Those upheavals, and you've used several examples this whole time. I want to bring it into the present now, Corrie, with everything that you're doing. And talk about your joy revolution, both your internal one and the external one that you're doing either as a mother, as a transformational coach, whatever it is that you want to consider as revolutionary work. So when I ask you to complete the sentence, my joy revolution is, what do you say?
My joy revolution is to work with women and help them overcome their fears and the barriers that their life, their childhood has given them, and fully step into those deep, dark desires that they want and bring them out into their present life.
Nice. Now I have to follow up with that. Why? Yeah. Why just women? Does it have to do with anything in your past with men?
No, not to say that I won't work with men, but I work primarily with women, because I find that women are more easily accessible to their emotions, right? Like men, I think as a society, you guys have all been taught, like, don't cry, don't talk about your feelings, like you're the man, keep it in, be the person. And I think that, so women are more open about like, this is how I feel and I want help, right?
Okay.
I think also as a society, we have, created these illusions of like men don't go through what we go through. And it's totally false. Like, men absolutely are in abusive relationships. Men absolutely can go through all of these other things and feel all these things the same way that women can. I just think that men aren't as open about them. And so my reach is more to women because they're open to that possibility more so than men.
What about Filipinos? Do you coach Filipinos?
I currently am coaching a male Filipino, actually.
What about Filipinos who used to be redheaded but are now bald? Do you coach them?
I do. I totally do.
Wow, that is an amazing demographic.
Because that defines it so completely.
Now here's the super bonus question. Do you coach positive psychologists?
I do. And a big part of my coaching with him is getting him to step out of the closet and admit that he's woo.
Whoever that is.
Whoever he may be.
Never get out of that closet and continue to pray to that God with a white beard. Corrie, you've said it all. Amazing. Absolutely amazing. I can't believe this is the first time we've had you on the show, but I don't think this will be the last.
Oh, God, I hope not. This was fun.
Yeah. I mean, we barely got to scratch the surface on your book, but this was so much of a tell-all behind why you wrote the book that you wrote. It's all in the show notes to find out where to get that book. A lot of good stuff to keep in touch with Corrie, but we're going to shut it down right now. I'm hungry. Corrie's got to pee. She told me strictly 2 hours because she pees every 2 hours on the dot. So for all of you out there, Corrie and I just wanted to let you know, for your sake, for my sake, for fuck's sake, start your revolution.
Yes.
In love, in light, in shadows, and in joy. Take care. It's Mark and Corrie. Till next time. I hope you enjoyed the Golden Mike podcast. There's more good stuff coming your way. But until the next episode, let's stay in touch, yes? Find us on Instagram as The Joy Rev, or communicate with like-minded revolutionaries in our Facebook group. Search The Joy Revolution Underground. And of course, don't forget to check out the classes, articles, blogs, and some serious fun at joyrevolution.com. That's joyrevolution.com. Now, until then, what will you do to change history for the better? Let's go out and play, shall we? Press start to begin.